Hello besties, welcome back again to my channel. If you are new here, kindly subscribe. My name is Marvel, and on today's project we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful corporate dress just like you see here. Okay, if this is what you would like to learn, kindly stick with me to the end of this video so you know how to come about this beautiful dress. Okay, let's get right into it. So for this project, we are going to be using a fabric. My fabric is a little bit stretchy. It's a crepe fabric. We are going to be needing a zipper, basic tools for sewing, and also a pattern paper. I wanted to do a freehand, but my chalk wasn't showing, so we're going to be needing a pattern, okay? So first of all, we're going to be drafting the down part of this dress, and now I'm going to just be imputing my hip line, which is 10 inches from my starting point. I've also gone ahead to mark my starting point with my chalk. At this point, I realized that my chalk was not coming out properly, okay? So, but I'm going to be using a better chalk, a whiter chalk, so you can see my lines. But basically, this is me just imputing my measurement for my hip. Okay, so just go ahead and input your hip measurement from your starting point, just like so. After imputing my measurement, I'm going to be just be drawing a straight line across to that point. All right, so just go ahead and do yours. Then I'm going to be imputing my knee measurement. Okay, from my hip line to my knee measurement, I'm going to impute it, and I'm also going to be drawing a straight line across, just as seen. All right. I'm going to be measuring the length of my gown, where I want my gown to be. Okay, then I'm also going to be attaching 1.5-inch allowance to full hem the down part of my gown. Okay, so just go ahead and input your measurement. So basically, from your waistline to your hip line, from your hip line also go ahead to mark your elbow part. Then from your elbow part, go ahead and mark the length of your skirt. Okay, so from my starting point, I'm going to be imputing my waist measurement. Okay, so just go ahead and impute your total waist circumference divided by 4, just as seen, and I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches allowance on both sides. Then from my hip, I'm going to be marking my hip circumference divided by 4. Then I'm also going to mark it and also impute my 1.5 inches allowance at that point. I'm also going to be doing that at the elbow. So for this part, I'm going to be minusing like 6 inch from my total waist hip circumference. Then I'm going to be dividing what I have by 4 and mark it at that point to just give it a fitting. You can just go ahead and just mark minus a total of 1.5 inches from what you got from your hip and mark it at that point. All right, then I'm going to connecting all my lines just as shown. All right, I hope you understand what I am doing. So just go ahead and do what I'm doing at that point. All right, so basically for the knee part, you can just minus, for instance, my hip circumference divided by 4 is 11 inches, so just minus 1.5 inches or 1 inches and mark at your knee point. All right, just to give the gown a fitting at that point. All right, so just go ahead and connect all your lines as shown. For at this zipper point, I'm going to be marking half an inch, and I'm going to be connecting it. I'm going to be cutting it out. This is just to avoid gaping. Okay, so I'm going to cut out just as shown. All right, I'm going to cut out all the edges that I don't need. I'm also going to go ahead and cut out my zipper part from that half an inch. I give it a slant. All right, skirt part, I'm going to be, for the back, I'm just going to mark out where I'm going to start imputing my zipper, and I'm going to give it a notch. Then for my front part, I'm going to be measuring half an inch, and I'm going to slant it and cut it out. All right, this just to give the front part a little bit of fitting. Okay, so just go ahead and do yours and slant it just as seen. Okay, So go ahead and notch the down part as well. That's basically all for the skirt part of this gown. Okay, let's go ahead and cut out the front. So for the front, I've gone ahead to mark out my basic bodice. All right, so I left 2 inches before marking my shoulder line. I've gone ahead to mark out my chest line, my bust point, my under bust, and my half length. All right, so I'm going to be imputing my shoulder measurement. All right, so just go ahead and impute just as seen. All right, this is just the way we normally do our basic bodies. All right, so at this point I'm going to be marking half an inch like we always do. All right, so if you are with me on this channel, you'll be familiar with this process. Now I'm going to be imputing my bust circumference, and I'm going to be connecting it all the way to my shoulder line. Okay, so now I'm going to be imputing all my round measurements. All right, at my bust point, I'm also going to be imputing my under bust measurement. I'm also going to be imputing my half length, that is my round waist. All right, and I'm going to connect all the lines just as seen. Okay, so now I'm going to be imputing my hip to hip, nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches, which is 4. Divided by 2 is 4, but I'm going to be marking 4.5 inches. So by the time I take half an inch for my allowance, we'll be left with 4 inches. Okay. So I'm going to be taking that half an inch measurement, because at my half length I added extra 1 inches for this part, for this process, just to take out that and give it that bustier shape. All right, so I'm just going to be connecting it from that center point that I marked at my shoulder. I'm going to connect it down to my bust point. Then I'm going to be marking half an inch, and also connect it just to get a new armhole curve. Okay, in case you might be confused at this process, I have a detailed video of how to draft a bustier. All right, I'll put the link on the description below. So at my 2 inches that I left before marking my starting point, I'm just going to extend my shoulder measurement up. Then I'm going to be taking my neck depth of 3 inches, and I'm going to connect it like so. Then from that shoulder point, I'm going to come down by half an inch. Then I'm going to connect our shoulder slope with a curvy slant. Okay, I'm going to be doing it just as seen. All right, to connect it, that should be my shoulder line, and that's what I'm going to be cutting out. All right, so just watch how I cut it out. All right, kindly pay attention to this process. All right, because at that 2 inches is where we are going to be creating our neckline from. All right, so I'm basically just going to cut out like you see me do. At this point, if you've learned one or two from my channel, kindly click the subscription button and also click on your notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Okay, so this is how it looks like. So now we're going to work on the middle part. All right, so from here I'm just going to be notching the center of what I have, and I'm going to be opening it up for us to create a neckline. Okay, so from this edge I'm going to be marking half an inch and half an inch on that end. Then from there I'm going to be going down by 7 inches. All right, it depends on how long you want your neckline to be. Mine, I'm going to be going by 7 inches, and I'm going to be connecting it all the way to the half inches I marked. Then from this other end, I'm just going to now draw a curve to meet this other straight line that I drew. All right, just to create our neckline. All right, so this is basically what our neckline is going to look like. All right, I didn't want that edge to be very sharp, so I just had to use my free hand to just give it that curve. So go ahead and cut out just as seen. Okay, I'm also going to be showing you how to cut out this part on your fabric. Okay, remember, you're not going to be cutting this on fold. So for the back pattern, we are just going to draft a normal back, just like the way we did at the front. We're going to be leaving 2 inches up before imputing our starting line. So just go ahead and measure your chest line, your bust point, your half length, just as we normally do. Okay, so I'm also going to now be extending my shoulder measurement like I did in the first. This because of our built up neckline. If you check the dress, it's a little bit high at the back, so this how we're going to be drafting. So just go ahead and cut out. All right, this is just our basic but back pattern block. Okay, so just go ahead and cut out. Don't mind the other line, it was a mistake, so that's why I asterisked it. Okay, so just go ahead and cut out at seam. So for our front, I'm just going to be showing you how you should cut out. All right, remember that for this for the purpose of this dress, you're not going to be cutting this front middle part on fold. You're going to be opening it up and cut it this way. Please don't forget. Okay, so that's why I had to show you how I cut out mine. Okay, so just open it wide like this and cut out. Okay, so for our sleeve part, I'm gonna head to draft our sleeve. Okay, I'm also going to be putting this on the description box for you to go see how I drafted a basic sleeve. So just a basic sleeve. Okay, normally I would have just used my free hand, but for the sake of this tutorial, I wanted to also show you how to draft a basic sleeve while at it. All right, so I went ahead to leave like 6 inches below, just because of the way the sleeve is. Okay, if you have extra, my fabric was not enough, I would have done a longer curve at the part. So for instance, you can just go as high as 7 inches or more. Okay, so just go ahead and draft yours and also give it that slant at the edge. Then I'm going to be cutting out the slant. All right, that's because I'm going to be using the material to cut out lining. So basically this is what it looks like. I went ahead to cut an interfacing and I also included stay on my interfacing. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead to the sewing machine and sew the neckline. Then I'm going to be joining the other sides of my dress. All right, just as seen. Okay, so this is what it looks like. By the time I was done, I also went ahead to include a hemming gum at my neckline, so by the time I iron it, it will be very flat. Okay, so this is what it looks like by the time I was done ironing. I'm also gonna head to also hem the down part, all right, with a hemming gum. So go ahead and notch the middle part of the top and the skirt and join together. So for the back, I also went ahead to cut interfacing and also went ahead to include stay on the interfacing. So I'm going to be joining the neckline and I'm going to be turning it, and I'm also going to be adding it to the down part as well. Okay, so this is what it looks like by the time I was done joining the up and the down parts for the back. All right, this is what it looks like. Okay, so I've also gone ahead to just close up. I forgot to tell you to leave a little bit of inches, like half an inch at this point where we'll be joining our zip. So we're going to go ahead and measure where we want our slit to begin and where we want our zip to stop. All right, so just go ahead and measure. For me, I would like my slit to begin at approximately 34 inches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that 34 inches. Then from 34 inches upward, I'm going to go ahead and also note where my zip will stop. So now I'm going to go ahead and join that part and this other part together. So this is what it looks like by the time I was done joining it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and impute our zip. Okay, so there's a way I want to impute my zip. All right, so I'm going to be folding it in between the interfacing. All right, so my zip is going to be like inside, just like you see me do. Okay, this is because I just want it to be closed and looking neat at the outer part. Okay, so just go ahead and pin down just as seen. Okay, so by the time I go ahead and join, you will see how neat it will be looking. So go ahead and pin down your zipper before joining. Okay, and ensure that when you are sewing, the down parts, ensure that when you are sewing, the down parts align, that is the waistline aligns very well. Okay, so this is what it looks like by the time I was joining. You can see how neat the edge is. Okay, so just go ahead and do yours like that. Okay, so now we're going to be joining the front and the back together, our shoulders. Okay, so this is what it looks like by the time I was done joining the shoulders. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead. I'm going to impute all my measurements and I'm going to join all the sides. All right, so I'm done joining the sides and this is what it looks like. Okay, so go ahead and also iron. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and work on our sleeves. So for the sleeve parts, the down parts, I went ahead to cut it in two, just like I said earlier, and I also went ahead to impute hairstay. So I'm going to go ahead and join the down part together, and I'll also sew the sides of the sleeve. Okay, so I'm done sewing the sides of the sleeve and I've gone ahead to turn the down part. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be joining it. All right, so just sew a little bit of 1/2 inches at this down part, then you connect it to the upper sleeve. Okay, so this was what it looks like by the time I was done. Don't forget, after this, go ahead and iron it just as seen. So now I'm going to go ahead and join our sleeves, and after joining our sleeve, I'll go ahead and hem the down part of our gown, and that's basically the end of this tutorial. All right, don't forget to iron. Okay, so this is what mine looked like by the time I was done sewing. All right, thank you for watching. Bye.